Good evening. My name is Melissa Ponzio, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll be your host on the Press Box. With me, as always, Jay and Ty. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Well, I'm going to start things off tonight by giving out the phone number here. This is a live show, 873-6713, if you want to call in with any questions, comments, or criticisms. And let's start off talking about the Braves. Now, we're on top, but this is a really crucial series right here.
Oh, without a doubt, it's a very crucial road trip, Jay. When you sit there and look at the schedules here, San Francisco is playing Houston for, I believe, a 3-game series, and then pretty soon they're going to be playing the Rockies.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt in my mind, I think San Francisco is going to win most of those games. And here it is, the Braves are playing Montreal and Philadelphia. And these are two teams that the Braves have struggled with. Now, when you sit there and you look back at the Braves' overall record since the trade bringing in Fred McGriff, they've won about 77% of their ball games. But even after that trade, when we played Montreal and Philadelphia at home, I believe they took both of them, 2 out of 3 from us. So it's really important for the Braves to hold off the Giants with this road trip.
Yeah, I think that the fact that the Braves are on the road makes it they're a better road team. You're right, Philly and Montreal won 2 out of 3 when they were here in Atlanta. But this is on the road, and the key is, just like in the Giants series, is winning that first game. You can't take 2 out of 3 or sweep the series if you don't win that first game. And I think they're up big, and with their pitching and their defense, they should be able to take 2 out of 3 from Montreal. If they do, and the Giants lose a couple games in Houston, you might see them go with an altered lineup in Philly. But if they're 1 or 2 games up, I think that the Philly series will be like a classic playoff matchup.
Right. When you look at this Montreal club, though, you can say that the Braves are the best road team, but I think Montreal is the best home team this year in baseball.
No, I think the Giants are.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how will Alou's injury affect Montreal?
I think it's going to affect them a lot, and I'll tell you why. Montreal, first of all, doesn't have a lot of superstars on their team. When you look at them offensively and you look at the offensive statistics, Montreal doesn't have a leader anywhere in the league. And Alou is second on the team in home runs, and he's second on the team in doubles, and makes up for a lot of the run production, Jay. So I think it's going to be a big loss for them.
Yeah, it definitely will hurt them. They have one of the best young outfields in all of baseball, Walker and Grissom and Alou, and you lose 1/3 of it. It's like taking Gant or Justice out of our lineup. How can you say that wouldn't affect us? So I'm looking for that to be a key factor. I think Alou's absence will keep the scoring down. Plus, with the Braves pitching, they're already going to have a hard time scoring runs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, what is the key for Phillies to hold on to the East?
I think, for one thing, they're going to have someone step it up in their pitching staff. The debacle for Philadelphia in the second half has been the drop-off in their pitching. I think Tommy Green has been pretty consistent. He's something like 15-3 now. But they need Schilling to pick it up. Mulholland has been hurt. Boy, they could really use him. If they get some help from those pitchers, I really think Philadelphia is going to hold on to the East.
Well, I think what Philadelphia needs is for the Braves to win 2 out of 3 in Montreal. Then, like Julian said right before the show started, they'll be rolling in the dugout.
Right. Well, I'd like to remind our audience that this is a live show if you'd like to call in. And we do have a caller. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
How you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
I'm doing. I wanted to call in. It's been a while since I've called in. I wanted to remark about the beginning of the year, before the season started, I told you all the Giants. I don't know if you remember. There's two guys. I said, watch the Giants, because anytime you put Barry Bonds up in there, you're going to have a tough team. And Philadelphia, watch them. So my predictions pretty much came true.
You're right.
And I
Good.
remember that. I definitely remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I remember
Definitely.
saying that the Giants wouldn't win the division because they didn't have the pitching the Braves did. So the Giants did have a good year, and Barry Bonds was the catalyst for having a good year, but I don't think their pitching is as good as the Braves, and I think that's going to keep them from a couple games short of winning the title, don't you?
Yeah, I think that because of the Braves pitching staff kicking in now, they pretty much are locked. As long as they can get the pitching, I think they're winning that game now 8-3 or something like that. Ask you a quick question. Who's the pick for the MVP of the National League this year?
Well, we discussed that last week, and I still think it's going to be Barry Bonds. I think he's done so much for the club over there in San Francisco. I think he's really brought up the play of several of the other players on his team, and I still think it's going to be Bonds.
Yeah, Bonds is a good pick, except for with the baseball writers, it's a really what have you done for me lately? And most of the writers that vote on this will remember Bonds not coming through at the end of the year, not carrying them all the way to the division. So he could win because there's not another clear choice. But I think last week I picked Len Dykstra.
Yeah, Dykstra.
Yeah, if the Phillies go all the way and win the East, Dykstra will be a good pick for MVP.
That's the one. Yeah, all right. Talk to you guys later.
All right,
Thanks for calling.
Okay, the Giants are winning consistently again. Could you name some reasons, maybe?
Well, the big reasons are that when you sit there and look at the last couple of games, Saturday, backup first baseman comes in for Will Clark and hits 2 home runs in Cincinnati. Sunday, Matt Williams comes up, hits 2 home runs against the Reds. And then yesterday, San Francisco got a win against Houston at the Astrodome. Barry Bonds getting involved with the offense. He had 2 RBIs. I think another big key here is that 2 of their most recent wins have been by Jim DeShays and Scott Sanderson. If they can keep getting those pick-me-up wins from those guys, it'll help.
Yeah, I don't know if they're winning consistently yet, though. You know, if you look at their last 12 games, they've won 4 out of 12, okay? They lost 8 in a row, so even an average team will win the next 8. So we'll see when it gets to the end of the year and they got to play in L.A. Law of averages say they're going to win 6, 7 in a row here because they're not a sub-500 team, and they lost 8 games in a row, so naturally. And look at the competition they're playing, Ty. The Braves swept the Reds, and so the Giants swept the Reds. So, you know, there really isn't a one-upmanship there. I think they were expected to sweep the Reds. Now, with the Astros, this will be a good test for them in the Astrodome, although I think they're 9-2 this year. The Giants are in the Astrodome. So.
Okay, well, we have a phone call now. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
That's all?
Yes?
Yes, I'd like to ask about Deion Sanders and would he be coming back? And what's the information on him?
Okay.
Well, I think Dion is going to be coming back eventually. I just think the team's playing so well with Otis Nick. Excuse me, I just had the flu this
Here,
week.
I'll take this one.
That with Otis in the lineup, they've been playing so well and so consistently that I don't see any reason for Bobby Cox to change anything.
No.
Jay, go ahead.
Well, I agree with Ty. I'm all choked up about the whole thing.
Don't make me laugh.
I'm sorry.
Someone give me a glass of water.
Okay, as
No, I don't think Sanders is going to make it back into the starting lineup. To tell you the truth, Nixon getting in the lineup. No, Nixon getting in the lineup has been a catalyst for the Braves. He's on a hitting streak right now. I mean, you know, I think his average is like 270, and so people are saying, well, he's not hitting that good. But if you remember, when he got in the lineup, he was only hitting like 220, something like that. So he's consistently got 2 or 3 hits a game. Plus, he walks a lot and plays great defense. And right now, there's no way that Sanders can crack the lineup. You can't sit down Gant. You can't sit down Justice. You can't sit down Nixon because right now they're hot. They're rolling. I just see him as the first left-handed pinch hitter off the bench in the playoffs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks for the call.
What about the article today in the paper about him not joining the Falcons?
He can't.
He can't.
He can't. He forfeits his.
What about after the baseball season?
Yeah, once the Braves are through.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess the Falcons were hoping that the Giants would catch the Braves so they could have some help. But if the
bad.
Braves go to the playoffs, he won't join them until November 1st
Okay.
because he's on their playoff roster, even though he was sick when they had to finalize it.
All right, well, speaking of the Falcons, let's move on to them. And what do you think the main reasons are for the 0-3 record
Jay,
so
I'm going
far?
to let you hit on that first.
Okay, I think there's 3 reasons. Coaching, coaching, and coaching, okay? If you read the paper after this last loss, I think Glanville's excited about being 0-3. He said, man, I'm excited about this. We're all going to get together and climb out of this hole. Well, I don't think the fans are that excited about it. I think the fans would like them for them to have been like 1-2 at least, and maybe 2-1. But 0-3 in the NFL, I mean, you play steadily as you get into the year. The teams, you know, they adjust to what you're doing, and I don't see that Glanville makes any adjustments during the game. They may come out with a good game plan. They did against San Francisco. You have to give them that. They decided to run the ball because San Francisco doesn't have the horses up front in the defensive line, and they stuck to their game plan. And you have to give him a little credit there. He did have a good game plan, but they didn't make the adjustments. And then in a close game, the Falcons just never seemed to get the breaks.
I agree. I think that the other issue here is defense. I think that the Falcons, again, are last in defense, giving up about 34 points a game, and you can't win doing that.
Well, today in the paper, the Smith family said that he has job security. Now, do you believe that?
Okay, well, I don't know if you follow the NFL, but usually when an owner or GM comes out and says, okay, his job is safe, then chances are the next 2 weeks they get canned. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that the Smiths think that there's nothing wrong with the coaching right now. And they really can't upset the apple cart, so to speak, right now. Because if you change the whole coaching staff right now, you're going to make the Falcons 0-6, 0-7 in a hurry, because the players, instead of preparing for the game, will be getting used to the new coaching staff.
Right.
So I think that's what the Smiths have in mind. They don't want to change horses in the middle of a stream, if I can use as many cliches as I possibly can.
Okay. Did you want to comment real quick?
I will comment on that. First of all, whenever an owner comes out and says that someone's job is safe, usually it means just the opposite. But I can tell you what the bottom line on the Smith family is, and that's cash. If they stop selling tickets and if they don't get those season ticket renewals, Jerry's out the door, and they're going to find someone who can put people in the dome, plain and simple.
Okay.
And I don't think the Monday night game is sold out, by the way. I think
No.
there's something like 4,000 or 5,000 tickets left.
Okay. We're going to take this phone call, but I do want to get back to that economic question right after this. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, how you doing? I'm just calling 'cause I love them Braves.
All right.
And, boy, I've been trying to get tickets. I can't get tickets for the game. And, wow, God, I'm just so excited. So excited.
I think
Well,
we are.
No,
We're
yeah.
all very excited
Yes.
about the Braves.
Yes.
If you could hang on and talk to our director, he can set you up with tickets to those Brave games. All right?
Psych. Anyways, back to the economic question. What about all the money that they put in for this new defense? What's going on there? Now, we touched on it last show. Let's just reiterate.
Well, I think the owners are very disappointed because here it is. They flushed all this money into their defense with players like Pierce Holt and Benny Clark, and here it is. They're not coming. Well, the defense overall is not coming through. I mean, this team has given up 101 points, something like that, in 3 games. And you're just not going to win football games that way. The defense is out on the field too much, and it's just not good. You just cannot win that way.
Okay, well, a part of the problem with the defense, and we discussed this right at the end of our last season, is that run and duck, or whatever it is, the shoot and duck, whatever, the red gun thing that they play.
that crazy thing that they do.
It's 3 downs and punt, or 3 downs and score. Either one. I mean, it's geared towards a big play. Well, I guarantee you, no defensive player wants to play defense on a team like that because, like Ty said, they're always on the field, always. I mean, even if the other team's scoring, they got to get right back on the field because Haynes has run 90 yards with a touchdown or whatever. So the defense stays tired, and there's just, I don't know, it's that living on the edge that Glanville preaches. I think they're living on the edge of mediocrity on the defensive line, aren't they? They got Pierce Holt. He makes every tackle in the game. Where are the other players that are supposed to support him?
Well, I'm hearing coaching and players now. Is it the players that are doing, or is it the coaching that's not instructing the players, or is it both?
I think it's
or what?
coaching, to tell you the
Okay.
truth. I think that in the NFL, you're to a point where most teams are pretty parallel in talent. I mean, obviously you got your superstars, right? But an NFL caliber player should be able to get the job done if he's instructed correctly and they have a proper game plan.
Right, I can go for that. Not only that, I think the management with the Falcons is questionable as well. I don't think they really have a good understanding of where to spend their money and to find quality players. I just don't think they know good players from the beginning. It shows with their draft choices that they've made recently with people like Marcus Cotton and Andre Bruce, and counting on Steve Broussardis coming in and being a running back, and now they've already changed his position this early in his career. I think that they need to do a better job in getting someone who can evaluate their talent that they're going to select.
Yeah, that was never more evident than in the Brett Favre trade. Remember? They traded Favre, who most of the teams in NFL thought was the top-notch quarterback first-round pick that they had him for. They traded him for a first-round pick, then picked Tony Smith, didn't they?
Right.
It's like, well, where is that guy? Who is he? I mean, a first-round draft pick in the NFL has got to come in and make an impact. And I don't see where Tony Smith is doing that.
No, I don't either.
Okay, what's the biggest surprise in the league so far?
Jay, I think the biggest surprise is the Philadelphia Eagles. First of all, they lose Reggie White to your team, the Packers. And here it is. They're 3-0. 2 of those 3 wins, well, one came against Washington and the other one at Green Bay. I think that it's been a pleasant surprise for them in what I consider the toughest conference in the NFL.
Yeah, the Eagles are definitely probably the biggest surprise. The Giants have to rank right behind them because they're also 3-0, tied for the lead in that tough conference. And I think when Reeves took that job, everybody said he's not the miracle worker. They should have got Parcells back. There was all kinds of comments flying around New York. And I think everybody wrote that team off as 8-8, said, well, they got to get used to the new coach. They don't have the talent they used to have. And Reeves has come in there and done a good job. Plus, it shows you that being prepared, good coaching, and mediocre
All
players.
the elements that we need here in Atlanta.
Good coaching and mediocre players can go 3-0.
Right.
I think the upper management in New York has a pretty good idea of where to get good talent as well.
Sure.
Okay.
I think they have a very good general manager.
Okay, well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, I'd like to ask, would Atlanta Falcons be drafting Eric Czar for quarterback?
Eric Zier?
Yes.
First of all, Eric's got another year to go after this year, and I think he will stay in school.
As far as the Falcons quarterback goes, they have 2 millionaire quarterbacks right now. They don't need a third, I don't think. I heard today where Chris Miller wants out. He wants to be traded to the West Coast or something. So I guess you can look for Bear to keep a hold of that job for a while. And that baby Miller, he might just get traded to the West Coast. Then they'll need a backup quality quarterback, not a first-round pick like Eric Zier.
Okay.
It's really a shame they couldn't foresee this, that they couldn't see getting a guy like Bear, knowing that they're doing nothing but purchasing a quarterback controversy. And that's what we said last week. That's all the Smith family did, was that they bought a controversy. It would have been really nice to see the Falcons trade Miller to a team like Seattle, who drafted Rick Meyer in the draft with their second choice. To see them trade Miller so he can go back up to the Pacific Northwest, where home is, and for their number 1 pick. And I think the Falcons could have taken a very good defensive football player, maybe a Marvin Jones, maybe an Eric Curry out of Alabama.
Okay.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to thank the caller for calling in and remind everyone else that this is a live show. And the number here is 873-6713. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's all right. I was going to say, while it is true that they did purchase the quarterback controversy, I think that they were trying to toughen up Chris Miller a little bit by giving him some competition, bringing somebody in there to push him. Well, I don't think they had a handle on the way Chris Miller is. It was his job, and he wanted to be the starting quarterback. So when the time came to get a little tough about it and try a little harder, he just gave up and went, Bear played better. I'm sure he's going to be the starter. Well, that's not what the Smiths were looking for, I don't think.
I don't think so either.
Okay, well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Hi. Do you have
Turn
a
your
question?
TV down a little bit.
I think we lost it. If you can just call back, we couldn't hear you from the feedback on the television set. Let's change gears now and talk about Emmitt Smith and his effect on Dallas towards the Super Bowl.
Well, I think, first of all, Dallas really, the strength of their team last year was their defense.
Yeah.
And also good coaching. I think Emmitt Smith is going to help the club. There's no doubt about that. And having him back, it seems like that's sort of ended a controversy now. And they can concentrate on playing football instead of concentrating on, well, when's Emmitt coming back? Mm-hmm. But I think what Dallas needs to do to get back to that Super Bowl form is to play the type of defense that they were playing last year. And that may be hard because the defensive coordinator, Wannstedt, is up there coaching the Bears now.
And they've also lost a couple of key linemen. One this week, Willett got hurt. I think he broke his leg or something, tore up his knee. So in last year's Super Bowl run, they alternated defensive players. They had about, I'd say 22, wouldn't you, Ty? 22 players that they ran in there. Only 11 can play at one time. Mm-hmm. And they were always fresh, okay? They lost a few of those to Plan B and free agency. Now they've lost a couple to injury. And like Ty alluded to, the defensive coordinator has gone to Chicago, and that's the key to the Cowboys, is that their defense is a little different, okay? So that could keep them from Super Bowl. I don't think Emmitt Smith is a cure-all. I don't think he's going to walk in there and now the Cowboys are all squared away, because they still got to contend with the Eagles and the Giants, who are 2 games ahead of them, and they do have to play them twice, though. But I just don't see the Cowboys. One thing they didn't realize, because they're such a young team, is that when you prance around and win the Super Bowl and show off your ring, that just makes the 16 teams that you play next year, they're after you now.
Right.
They want to knock off the Super Bowl champs, and I don't think Dallas is mentally ready for that week in and week out. Sure, they can get up for a big game, but they're not going to be able to do that week in and week out.
Okay. Well, before we go on, I'd like to thank our sponsors, the Atlanta Knights, Sports Authority, and Hooters of Buckhead. And we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah. I wanted to know if who you guys think is going to win the NFC West.
The NFC West and
Right.
okay, go ahead.
No, I think it's going to be the 49ers. I just think they have the quarterback to do it. But right now, I think they're a little weak defensively on the line of scrimmage. But I think as the years go, as the games go by, I think Seifert's a good enough coach where he can make adjustments with his staff to offset those problems. And I really think that San Francisco, behind Steve Young, is the team to beat.
Jay?
Negatory. I think the Saints will win it because they have a better defense. Ty touched on it just here. The 49ers defense is terrible. I mean, the Falcons offense, whatever it's called, it scored 30 points on them. I mean, the Niners, when they dominated this division in the past, decade, always could hold a team when they needed to. This Niner team can't hold anybody. They couldn't even stop the Cleveland Browns, which is kind of a mediocre team. They're better at home, I realize that, but I just don't see the Niners keeping up the defensive pressure that the Saints can. The Saints can dominate a game and not even score a touchdown. So I think you saw when the Saints played the Lions. The Lions have a very good offense.
But didn't we score 30 on the Saints, too?
Yeah, that was a fluke. That's because Bear came in. He was familiar with the team.
So
You
it's
won't
a
see
fluke
another
in
team.
your condition,
No.
but not in Todd's.
You'll see. The Saints won't give up that many points. That was kind of a unique situation, you have to admit, playing the quarterback that was on your team for the last 5 years. He knew who to pick on.
Hey, when the Saints win the West, I'll believe it when I see it. They always choke in the playoffs.
Ty will
Well, now wait,
dance on
no.
this table.
They will choke in the playoffs. Wait, maybe I
But
should say
I
that.
just don't even see them winning the West.
The
And
Saints will win the
also,
West and get
I don't
bounced
think
out.
they're a proven team winning on the road. True, they played well against Detroit at home with their defense, but that was at home. I want to see them play good teams on the road, not the Falcons on the road. I want to see them play good teams on the road and beat them, and then I might be sold on that.
Okay, I think we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Oh, no, we don't have a phone call. Let's go on to college football. And the Dogs finally won, but their defense was struggling.
Their defense really struggled, and I was really not happy to see that. They played so well in the first 3 quarters, basically. They were ahead 45-21. And then Richard Bell, the defensive coordinator, put in what I thought was a prevent defense. They played very softly out there. And, Texas Tech just picked them apart and ran quick passes, got out of bounds, and before you knew it, it was an 8-point ball game in the late in the game with about 3 minutes left. Georgia cannot afford to have this happening. And I really think that Ray Goff, if he's going to hold on to his job, really needs to look at some of his personnel that he has on defense because they're giving up way too many points. They gave up 38 to Tennessee. They've given up an average of about 30 points in Goff's tenure against Florida. And you're going to have to be able to beat those teams. Plain and simple. If you can't, then you don't need to be the head coach there.
I think that's pretty much it, what he just said. I mean, it looked like Tennessee was playing them again with the way Texas Tech went right down the field. If Texas Tech had a better defense, they would have won that game. Mm-hmm. So Ty's right. They got to really adjust their defense. I don't know what to do.
What will the adjustments be?
Well, Georgia's got to make some changes, and one of them that's really positive is going to be getting Travis Jones back in their lineup. He was the projected starting nose tackle this year and their best defensive lineman, so having him, a senior, is really going to help. I think Goff may even have to pull some teeth and get a freshman in there, a true freshman. That's maybe someone like Damian Carson, who they were really high on when they recruited him out of Calhoun. Also, the paper hinted that with an injury today that you might see another true freshman, Robert Edwards, out of the Sandersville area get in.
Jay, any changes?
I don't know. You know the personnel. You go to the games.
Well,
I only listen to it on the radio.
True fan.
So I only know that one man hit him headgear to headgear.
Okay.
They need more players.
All right, well, we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Going back to the Braves.
Okay.
What do you think about that new deal they signed with the Dodge Corporation?
With the what
With the
corporation?
Dodge Corporation?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not familiar with it.
I'm
Could
not
you fill
either.
us in a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's like, since they're in first place now, they have to, or the Dodge company awards them Dodges to drive.
I
Well, that's
never,
okay.
I never knew anything about it.
I
Say
guess
good for them. Let
the
them drive.
the next thing is to make Lee Iacocca our GM then, huh?
Right.
You think?
Thank
Sorry.
you for your
Thanks
phone
for the
call.
call.
Why don't they give us Dodges?
Yeah.
We're the real working people.
Yeah.
Okay, how will Georgia fare at Ole Miss?
I think, last year Georgia played really well against those guys. And what Ole Miss does is that they like to stuff a lot of people up on the line, stop the run, and really blitz you. If Georgia can pick up those blitzes, and their offensive line did improve last week, I think Eric Zier can really cause troubles for them. The key is getting out in front. If they get in front, and if the offensive line can play and pick up the blitz, I think Georgia will win and win big. But if they don't, they'll be in a lot of trouble. That's going to be the key.
I think it's going to be a struggle right down to the end. I really do. You're right. Having Zier is excellent for a blitzing team. They can make the big play on them. But like you said, how many big plays are they going to need with their defense?
Right.
Okay. Well, last weekend Tech lost to Virginia. What were the problems there?
I think Tech's problem was that, first of all, their quarterback is young, and he just didn't seem to have a whole lot of confidence out there. They didn't let him throw over the middle that much. I really couldn't understand it until I saw him throw some passes over the middle. They were always high. He never seemed to get his rhythm, and I think that had a lot of effect on Bill Lewis's play calling. I think the other issue here was that Virginia had a tougher line of scrimmage, and George Welsh knew it. As a matter of fact, I think on first down on every series that he had, he would run the ball just right up the middle almost every time. I think only 4 times I saw him run a play-action fake bootleg pass off of that. And those plays, all of them were successful.
Jay?
I think that he's right about the inexperience at quarterback. Tech right now doesn't have the horses that the other teams have, and because of their youth, they're playing tentative. Like they're playing not to lose the game rather than to try and win the game. And as the season goes along, they'll be in trouble every game if they have that attitude. When they come out of the blocks and just go after them, they probably will fare better. I really thought they were real tentative in that game. They were just always trying not to make a mistake. But then you make a mistake when you do that. So, and Davis, isn't that his name?
Yeah.
Davis? He did make, a couple of turnovers early in the game and put them way behind. And then, when you're way behind against a superior team, you just can't catch up. Like, they tried. They gave it a valiant effort, but they're not as good as most teams.
Although I will tell you, I did like the freshman Stegall. I really think he's a player.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, assuming that the Falcons lose another couple games and Glanville's ousted, who do you guys think the Falcons would try to pick up as a new head coach?
New head coach.
Who do you think
for
the Falcons should get as a new head coach?
Wow,
Thank you for your
that's
call.
a good question. Well, personally, I think one of the great minds in college football right now is Steve Spurrier down at Florida. As a human being, I think he's a jerk. But as a football coach, I think he's a genius. Steve Spurrier always seems to have very talented offensive teams down there. I really like him a lot as a head coach.
He is a good college head coach. You're right.
No,
Now,
he was also in professional ball
I
before
know.
then.
I don't think the Falcons ownership will take a high profile name like that. The Falcons probably will go with the best assistant available. I mean, they've showed this in the past with Lehman Bennett, Dan Henning, Glanville. No, Glanville was a head coach when they got him. So, although Glanville is a better assistant coach. So, because of the money thing, I think they probably won't bring a big name in. I think what the Falcons need now, after spending all the money on the free agents, is to move a proven professional head coach. Move someone over here that's already in place in their team, lure them away, make them coach our team. The Falcons, if they go to a college coach or an assistant from another NFL team, it's going to be 3 more years of building before they're even competitive again. So I don't know. That's a good question. There's a lot of, like Buddy Ryan's available, Mike
Maybe we
Ditka's
need
available.
that building because we're not competitive now.
I
if
know.
We're 3-0.
That's a good point, I guess. But, they're always building. The Braves were always building.
And look at them now.
Yeah, but now they're not building anymore.
They got,
but we're
people, they
winning.
got people that knew
We've
what they
got
were
13
doing.
runs right now, so we can't complain, right?
Okay, yeah, I guess not. So,
Okay.
Do you think that they may even just promote June Jones to that job?
no, I don't think so. To answer your question bluntly
Okay.
and shortly.
No,
I'm
it
sorry.
just came to my mind, June Jones, because I think he's the top assistant.
But they've more than showed in the past that they don't like to bring in the head coach. They want to move an assistant up, and that way they can only pay him $100,000, and they don't go broke.
Spend it somewhere
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
Right.
Sure, build another dome.
Okay, why not? Back to Tech. How do you think they'll do this week with Clemson?
I tell you what, that's going to be a tough game going to Death Valley. If you look at one of Clemson's games last year, they played a bowl team, North Carolina, at home and drummed them 40-7. They are a very difficult team at home. I think it's going to be a long afternoon for Georgia Tech.
Definitely, especially after Florida State went in there and totally humiliated them. They're going to be ready. They're going to show their fans they can play football. Tech's in for a long afternoon.
Okay, I would like to thank you two gentlemen for a wonderful evening of sports talk.
And I'll try to get better.
Okay, and again, our audience, please tune in next Tuesday where the beautiful and talented Vanessa Johnson will be the host of our show. And don't forget to watch tomorrow night, Homemade. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.